What a day we have here together, beloved people. Between this 100-year-old take on the historic liturgy of the church, along with all these hymns and pieces of music and words that would have been offered in that era, not to mention all the unfamiliar terms and turns of phrase and things that are just so different than what we're used to. It's quite an experience indeed today. And of course, we're holding up this bit of our history on the same day that the church holds up the historic festival of the Transfiguration of our Lord, which of course is the feast day that brings time after Epiphany to a close with this gospel story that we hear today of Jesus on the mountaintop, shining in glory amidst the great liberators and healers of old, Moses and Elijah. Just as we began Epiphany 8 weeks ago with the light of the divine star leading us ahead to Jesus, we now end the season with the light of Christ leading us ahead toward Lent and the cross, in the midst of suffering and death, and of course eventually into resurrection life beyond. Fitting bookends, I think, moving us from light to light in this season of divine illuminative possibility. And of course, one of the ways the church has historically understood this transfiguration story is that it functions as an interpretive moment of sorts, that first reveals what Christ seeks to do in the world and then leads us forth into that work together. For when Jesus becomes illuminated there in the midst of God's mountaintop presence, the figures of old who show up, Moses and Elijah, are representative of a few things. On the one hand, they represent the way God broke the power of Egyptian slavery, liberating the people from the yoke of oppression. That's part of what Moses represents. But on the other hand, Elijah is representing the way God undoes the power of unjust kings and the way God sends healing beyond all of our human boundaries. Some of the things Elijah was remembered for. And in the awesomeness of this mountaintop transfiguration experience that Jesus shares with these his closest companions, it's no surprise that Peter wants to stay there a while. I mean, who wouldn't? But as is the case with many of our mountaintop experiences, it lasts only a moment. And before long, they find themselves heading back into everyday life where our human needs are being met with Jesus' power and Jesus' healing and Jesus' call. When they go back down from the mountain, right off the bat, the crowd is around them again, as is always the case in Luke's Gospel, and a man is there advocating for the healing of his son, and the words used to describe Jesus' response to this are telling. In the Gospel, it says Jesus first rebukes the unclean spirit, heals the boy, and then gives him back to his father. That is, restores them to right relationship. And so Jesus, this glorious Christ, the one who takes on the mantle of Moses and Elijah, these unbelievably huge figures of the past, is the one who then enters back into everyday life, rebuking evil, healing people, and restoring them to right relationship. Sounds to me an awful lot like a microcosm of the entire gospel itself. Or is this not what Jesus does? And is this not what Jesus calls us to be about as well? To rebuke evil, to heal, to work towards restoring relationships to rightness? I mean, if we take this transfiguration story seriously, it seems that it's not enough for us to simply sit in the midst of Jesus and of the faithful leaders of old that reveal these truths and revel in them. No, Jesus does not call us just to this mountaintop space, but instead goes with us together down the mountain into everyday life where evil is persistent and healing is needed and relationships are fractured, and calls us then to respond to Christ's initiative that's already at work there, that we might also do something about the needs around us. For there are many. You may have seen the news this week about our United Methodist siblings of the faith, who held an historic vote to exclude people of gender and sexual minorities from full participation in the life and leadership of the church. Did any of you see this week? Well, it's been a devastating blow to many in the Methodist tradition. Indeed, has been death-dealing in many ways to many beloved, gifted, and cherished people of God. And on social media, in response to this, there were many, of course, compassionate responses. Many people were mourning with these Methodist siblings and affirmed the full personhood of all of them and said, we love you and we care about you and this sucks. But the response from these faithful followers of Christ, these Methodists, it was telling. For they said they were thankful for such affirmations, of course, but then there was a serious demand for some deeper accountability. For these Methodists of sexual and gender minorities were saying, if you say that you love us, what work are you doing to help break this system that's crushing us? And if you say that you love us, are you stepping out to decry the evil? And if you say you love us, what are you doing to heal our torn bodies? What are you doing to make right this relationship? If you say that you love us, you have to show us that you love us as well. Of course, Christ's love is not only proclaimed in words, but must also be made known in our bodies as well. In ways that, as we see in this transfiguration story, rebuke evil, heal what is wrong, and restore us to right relationship, which we have trouble doing. And indeed, I think we cannot do on our own. For the love we ourselves offer to the world will never be enough to cast out all evil and heal all sickness and restore all relationships to rightness. But Christ's love can do that. And does do that. For the love of Jesus the Christ is the sort of right-making, justice-enacting movement of body and soul that transforms death into life. Which may be the very sort of movement that actually stands a chance at doing the work that is needed in our world to make what is wrong right. Which is also the work that Christ invites us into as partners and as friends. For as Dr. Cornel West reminds us, he says, never forget that justice, making things right, is what love looks like in public. And so as we go down from the mountain, know that Christ always goes with us to rebuke evil, to heal our sicknesses, and to make right what we cannot make right on our own. May this sort of love be made known now and always on top of our mountains and in our deepest valleys through Christ our Messiah, one who heals and sets us free. Amen. And now may the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus.